in keeping with the conversation of point guards. So there was I guess, an alleged tweet that went viral, and y'all know I'm not really here to aggregate other people's tweets that went viral, but I was asked, so I will indulge. One of the rare times I'll indulge, but so the narrative of Kyrie versus AI became a thing, and there's apparently some people walking this earth, breathing this air, watching basketball that are under the impression that Kyrie Irving is better than Allen Iverson. And whew, that's when I know I'm getting old. Because I have always strived to be not the old guy that just loves players from his era over anybody else. I have fought against that guy my entire life. When I was young, trying to learn the game of basketball and understand, analyzing of it and trying to learn about older players and how they would fare in this and that era, that in time, which was the 90s. Like, I would try to fight against people that would tell me Dr. J is better than anything. Just because I saw him in his prime. Jordan's not better than Dr. J. Like, there are people who will tell you that Dr. J is better than Jordan. Just like there are people that will tell you Bill Russell is better than all of them. And Wilt, and Big O, and the now late, great Elgin Baylor. And we will get to him later in the pod. But AI versus Kyrie. I mean, I'm going to AI. But here's what when you're analyzing this stuff, when you just see a tweet like that and someone's saying pick AI or Kyrie, what does Kyrie do better than Allen Iverson? Let's try to break this down in terms of skill set for skill set. So, ball handling. The easy answer or the simple answer is probably Kyrie, just because he dribbles so much, right? But effective handles aren't always about who can go between the legs the most or behind the back the most or whatever the case may be. Is who uses the dribble most effectively to get where they want to get to. And I'm sorry, I got to go Iverson. I got to go AI there. As much as Kyrie has more and one level handles, I'm still going Iverson. That crossover, which we all knew was coming, which we all kind of knew was a carry, it's still effective. He shook Jordan. He shook AD twice, made him fall on the same play. Like, he shook GP. I mean, he shook anyone who was a above average, if not elite defender. He shook them all with that same move. They all knew it was coming, but when he hit them with it, they fell anyway. That's when you know handles are elite. Kyrie is a different combination of dribbles. It's between the legs, it's hezzies, it's behind the back, it's feints, it's all of that type of stuff where it's the combination of dribbles that gets him by people, right? So, we know who his godfather is, right? Like, we don't need to, all right, if you don't know, Rod Strickland, like, we don't need to get into why Kyrie is the way that he is with handles because, hello, look who he was around. So ball handling, I'm going AI. Shooting. Now here's where optics would clearly favor Kyrie. And initially, I'd want to agree. Kyrie, especially over the last couple of years, early in their careers, the numbers are strikingly similar. But over the last couple of years, Kyrie is a better shooter than Allen Iverson. No one can really push back on that. Again, I said shooter, didn't say scorer. We're going to get to that. Defense. You got to go Iverson. I don't know how many times I'll look this up here on the fly, but I know Iverson definitely led the league in steals a few times. Let's see. How many times? 11-time All-Star. 3-time steal champ. So he led the league in steals 3 times, right? And this is a guy that, he's listed at 6 feet, but he's 5'10", 5'11", dog. Like, to be able to be the steals champ, does Kyrie have any type of defensive Nope. He doesn't have any type of. Now again, steals aren't the greatest metric of steals because you could just play the passing lane, especially if you're a guard. You could just play the passing lanes and try to get steals that way. You can, on double teams against a big, you're crashing the paint, getting your hand in there, swiping the ball away. So you could get some real cheap, easy steals. But Iverson led the league in that 3 times. So, I mean, it's a little different than just, you get a couple steals a game just off that. It was like, nah, he's a factor in doing that. He made that a specialty of his to get steals, to be able to rip people because it was so quick. And to keep it real, he was so low to the ground because he's small. So he was able to get down there, get low, get rips. Like that's what he did. So defense, they're both liabilities in terms of post stuff or can they stop people one-on-one, things of that nature. They both could not do that. But what little defensive metrics AI did have is better than Kyrie. So handles AI, shooting Kyrie, defense AI. I know running an offense is one of my things here that I talk about a lot, especially when it comes to point guard play. It's one of the positions that I talk about a lot because I played point. So for me, knowing how to play point really mattered to me. I really wanted to know what it is to run an offense, to orchestrate plays and things of that nature. So I judge point guards really tough, right? So Kyrie is not a point guard. He's a scoring guard that plays point guard. And this year is probably one of the best examples of it, as you see the Beard walk in there and become the real point guard. And now the Nets are unstoppable on offense because they have an actual point guard. When Kyrie was orchestrating the offense, they could still get buckets, but it wasn't an easy flow. It was more, okay, KD, it's your turn. Okay, now it's my turn. Or if KD's out, here, James, it's your turn. Okay, now it's my turn. Now, AI wasn't really a point guard. So neither one of them were point guards, right? Neither one of them were real facilitators. I will say this, though. For the talent that Kyrie has had around him, take away those first couple of years when he was, when the Cavs were terrible. He's had LeBron, Kevin Love. He went to Boston. He had Tatum and Brown. And now he has KD and James Harden. And this man has, theoretically, he's cracked 7 assists once. Once. With all that talent. I just named you Hall of Famers. Kevin Love's debatable, but, resume speaking, his resume is up there, especially now that he has rings. So, LeBron, Kevin Love, Tatum and Brown, KD, the Beard. And he's only cracked 7 assists once in his career, right? So, Iverson, until he got to Denver, he didn't really play with any Hall of Famers. I know Mutombo's a Hall of Famer, but we really know, come on. Hoya Saxa, but come on. So, even if you want to add in Mutombo, who's the Hall of Famers AI played with? Mutombo? And then who? Melo for a hot minute? And he cracked 8 assists a couple times, if you round up. Kyrie played with about 4 or 5 Hall of Famers, only cracked 7 assists once. AI cracked 8 assists twice, if you round up. Only played with a couple Hall of Famers. So, yeah. In terms of facilitating, it's a stretch, but give me AI. Now, scoring. This is probably the most hotly debated part of it, right? They both could get buckets, but, dog, you understand what it is to be a 4-time scoring champ. Kinda, sorta, in the era of Jordan. Like, he got his first one right after Jordan left. He dropped 30 plus 3 times to lead the league. Like being a 4-time scoring champ, including 3 times over 30. And this is in the 90s and early 2000s. So again, the defense was still a thing. It's not like now where Bradley Beal can get you 30. This is AI getting 30 when you could throw him to the ground. When you could thug him up. It's a little different. Getting 30 then, and I'm not trying to sound like the old guy, but it's just the rule changes are what they are. You can't deny the rule changes. 30 then is harder than 30 now. There's no other way really around it. Finishing ability. And this to me is like a little bonus thing. Because to me, right now, I mean, if you're keeping track of it, I think AI is better than Kyrie, right? But even if you want to go to the things that are the two toughest things to judge these two on, I think it's scoring, which we just did, and finishing. I think Kyrie is a Hall of Fame finisher with elite handles and shot making. Like his shot making, the way that he's able to finish at the cup, the array of layups. And again, that goes to Godfather Rod. Like if you watched Rod play, that was his game. Little dude, crazy handles, able to finish at the rim against anybody, big or small. That was Rod. Now that's being transferred to Kyrie, basically. But Iverson, his finishing, and I hate to make it about athleticism, but his finishing was dunking on dudes. And that's always going to win to me. that's always going to win to me. If you're 5'10", 5'11", and you're able to get up and yam it, if you're able to turn it over on someone, I don't care what you do with them pretty little layups, dog. Like, them pretty little layups are cool. You could jelly fam somebody to death, but it ain't nothing like turning it over on someone. Like, if you've never had the feeling of dunking the basketball, if you've never experienced that, even if you had to shorten the rim to do so, like I know some of y'all probably had to do, it's a different feeling to yam it than it is to just have a nice, pretty layup. Nice, pretty little reverse layup. Cool, that's fine. But just the sheer ferocity of going up and someone going up to challenge you and you being able to turn it over on them. I mean, bruh. Yeah. Finishing. Give me AI. Give me the guy who can dunk. Then the guy who can do all the little pretty layups that most of the time will get blocked against real shot blockers. So that was for y'all. I had no intentions of touching that. I really could not understand why that tweet went viral, but it apparently became a thing. I just hope at some point we just stop buying into that type of stuff. But I wanted to give y'all one because I normally avoid that stuff like ridiculously. So there you go.